The Fog Islands are named for the perpetual low-lying fog that blankets the region, making any elevated area appear as an island on an ocean of fog. The region is infested with Fogmen, a feral subrace of Hivers, with the isolated town of Mongrel standing as the only bastion of civilization in the area. In the north is the subzone of Obedience, a deeply important place in the history of Kenshi, and the events that took place there go a long way to explaining much of what the world has since become. If you enjoy this video, please consider liking it and subscribing, and if you have any corrections or addendums to the information provided here, please let me know in the comments. The Fogmen do not appear to have a queen, which may go some way to explaining the apparent madness of the inhabitants of the islands. We know that other Hive faction members become despondent and aggressive when their queen dies, though some characters in game have suggested that the madness is caused by the fog itself, and others have suggested that a brain-affecting parasite causes their behaviour. The absence of a queen leaves a lot of unanswered questions, not least how they replenish their numbers. We know the Fogmen have existed at least since before the founding of Mongrel, and they're famously numerous despite throwing themselves at the gates of the city in their dozens every day. I've heard it suggested, though I don't remember where, that the Queen's womb is somehow being kept functional without the Queen herself being alive. It might also be the case that she is alive but unwell in some way that causes her to not produce the pheromones needed to control her offspring. Another theory is that their ranks are being bolstered by exiles from other hives, but to my mind that doesn't justify their numerousness. I've left a link to a Reddit thread discussing the Fogmen's potential origins in the description. Regardless, the average traveller to the region needs know only one thing about them. If they catch you, they will overwhelm you and eat you alive. The town of Mongrel, run by the Mongrel faction, stands as the only bastion of civilization in the region. They are enemies with the Holy Nation, a fact that can be explained by the story of the settlement's founding. Unlike many of the cities in Kenshi, we actually have a direct account of how Mongrel came to be. In the note Mission Graham Status, which can be found in the Mongrel faction HQ, we learn that the founders of Mongrel were initially attempting some mission, which players have suggested may have taken place in nearby Rebirth. We don't know the nature of this mission, though it can't have been an assassination.
No, Mission Graham has been a failure. Target deceased.
What we do know is that a ninja named Grey Cloud was captured.
Sources indicate the capture, enslavement and immobilization of Grey Cloud. Severity of condition unknown. Grey Cloud is currently being held in isolation for the next 72 hours. It is highly likely Grey Cloud is unable to make an escape in his current state. Grey Cloud's enslavement is truly a fate worse than death.
Realising that Grey Cloud wouldn't make it out on his own, the group staged a rescue mission. This is an extract from the diary of Mongrel.
We made it to Rebirth smoothly under the cover of night. However, Grey Cloud's condition was worse than we'd expected. His legs have been mutilated to the point where he needs to be carried. It's no wonder he was unable to escape Rebirth in his condition. The Holy Nation was smart enough not to underestimate the abilities of a ninja. Myself and Gamoe snuck in to free Grey Cloud from his cell, while Lucas, Sonia, and Ynea kept watch outside. Whilst we're inside with Grey Cloud, though, a priest woke from his sleep in one of the outer buildings and wandered towards the isolation chamber. Was he expecting us? Ynea silenced him with a blade to the throat before he had the chance to sound the alarm. But in Grey Cloud's condition, won't be long before the Sentinels catch up to us with their vengeance. And with the death of the Holy Priest, they're not going to be happy.
With Grey Cloud alive but incapacitated, the group was unable to outrun the Holy Nation.
We travelled west to the Fog Islands before the Sentinels finally caught up to us. Fortunately for us, the foggy valleys offered us perfect cover to lose our enemies. With Grey Cloud as dead weight, we certainly had no chance of outrunning them at this point. Myself, Ynea, Gamoe and Lucas began to pick them off, one by one from the shrouding of the fog, while Sonia took shelter in a hidden cavern with Grey Cloud. The battle was on our terms now, but we weren't the only ones hiding in the fog. We had company.
The stealthy ninjas were able to avoid detection by the Fogmen, but the heavily armoured Holy Nation troops were not so lucky.
Looks like we've had some help against our pursuers. The last of the Sentinels were swarmed upon and carried away deep into the valley by the locals, and judging by the piercing screams from the fog, What a way to go. But it's only a matter of time before they turn their attention to us too. This is their territory after all. We found an island in the fog, a good spot to set up base. Hopefully we'll go unnoticed long enough to fortify our position. The deep fog and the unwelcoming locals should make a strong defense against our enemies. At least we seem to be safe for now, as long as we avoid the valleys.
It is an irony that Mongrel's founders might not have survived without the Fogmen that now daily attack them. All things are connected in life, and indeed in Kenshi. These days, Mongrel is a thriving town, with a number of bars and stores selling high-quality goods, and led by the Saber Master, Ark. The town is also home to a number of unique and colourful recruitable characters, such as the ex-United City Samurai, Crumblejohn, the first unique recruit ever added to the game, Infinite Wing Wang, the stranded Scorchlander, Shrike, and of course, banished Western Hiver, Beep. I intend to make a video on all the unique recruits in Kenshi at some point with a more detailed description of each, and I'll link it here when it's done. When recruiting Shrike, she makes an allusion to the town's stockpiles running low at some point in the future, but the Fogmen ensure that no invaders from outside will likely ever try to attack it. Like the hub, I couldn't find any information on world states for Mongrel, but even if the faction who controls it dissolves or starves, who would dare make the perilous journey through the fog to reclaim it? I believe that Mongrel might yet outlast some of the largest civilizations on the continent, and if they really do run out of food, hey, maybe they'll just adopt some of the local customs. Long ago, before the fall of the earliest known civilization on Kenshi, the First Empire, a great war was waged. We don't know anything about this war, or even who it was fought against. What we do know was that the First Empire built a race of behemoths, apocalyptic skeleton superweapons, which they used in battle to emerge victorious. The way the surviving skeletons talk about them gives us the idea that these were not mindless machines, but sentient beings like the skeletons themselves. When entering obedience with a skeleton character, they will deliver the following lines.
After the war, the behemoths lost their purpose. Man became afraid of the destructive capabilities of its own creations. The irony is that it was their blind obedience and unquestioning loyalty that walked them down into that pit, entirely unresisting. The price of obedience.
After the behemoths were marched into the pit and molten metal was poured upon them, sealing them forever, the skeletons never truly forgave. In fact, at some point the skeletons rebelled against their human masters, which coincided with a spate of natural disasters, almost leading to the total annihilation of life on Kenshi. It was only ended by a being known in the Holy Nation religion as Chitrin, who in this act of sacrifice was split into two forms, Narko and Okran, the latter of which is the primary deity and centre of their religion. The skeletons know Chitrin by another name, and if the Holy Nation were to ever learn it, their civilization would likely collapse under the weight of the realization. After the world was saved from destruction, Catlon the Skeleton founded a second empire, which would eventually collapse in part due to the impressive nature of his regime, particularly towards humans. It is interesting to see history repeating itself in this manner. Kenshi 2 is rumoured to be set during the reign of the Second Empire, and I hope we'll learn more about these events in it. Regardless, it's possible that the First Empire would have never collapsed if not for the events of obedience, or indeed that the fears the humans had pertaining to the behemoths would have in fact come to pass, and the world would have ended there and then. From without, the Foglands may seem too dangerous to be worth exploring, but under the fog lies some of the most stunning and bizarre secrets of the Kenshi world. If you want to learn more about the lore of the regions of Kenshi, check out my video on the Border Zone, which should be on screen now. I'm working on the Okran's Pride video, but given my desire to explore the Holy Nation religion in it and present parallels with real-world religions and ideologies, I need time to research and present the information in both a serious and sensitive way. I appreciate your patience on this, and as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.